Welcome to Something Witchy, a Sabrina the Teenage Witch rewatch podcast. I'm Laura Cotter.
And I'm Sky Orchard.
And we are so excited to be back. I know for you, it won't sound like we were gone, but we were actually gone ourselves. It's been 2 months. Beginning of December, I think, was the last time we recorded.
Even then, it was like holiday episodes or short ones. Cat Showdown we recorded in like early November.
So if there's a large jump in quality, that's why.
Or, our memes and social media posts are actually, for right now, up to date with the times.
They might be a little bit current. And, it's been a wild couple of months that we've been through. We're still here. We're glad you're still here.
Yeah, it's a weird time for a lot of us there. But I think at the end of the day, I hope all our listeners feel like we're a safe space here and, come join us as we escape a little bit into the 90s to get a little break in your day from the world, which is a scary place at the moment, not gonna lie.
Come disassociate with us. Question, Sky. Again, this wasn't an episode where it was a really easy question to ask, so I'm just going to go with, what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
I like a good coffee flavor, not going to lie. Gelato, regular, dairy-free. Give me that coffee flavor.
Was gelato dairy-free?
No, as listing types of ice cream. So you have your regular, you have your gelatos, you have your dairy-free ice creams.
Oh, I was like, I don't think gelato's dairy-free, Sky. Okay, got it. Anything that's coffee flavored. Do you have a specific brand that you're like, if you are going to splurge, you're going to get that one?
The Talenti. It's a really good brand.
Yeah.
Also, I love Ben & Jerry's because those are two good dudes fighting the man.
Yeah, they have my favorite ice cream flavor. Mine is New York Super Fudge Chunk.
What's in it? New York Super Fudge Chunk besides fudge?
It's chocolate ice cream with chocolate pieces and white chocolate pieces and almonds that are covered in chocolate.
Fudge somewhere as well, right?
Yeah, I'm like fudge.
Okay.
Yeah. But I also, so we have an ice cream store here called Normal Ice Cream. That's really good. And this summer, they have like rotating flavors. You can very rarely get the same thing twice. They had one that was a watermelon ice cream and it had tahini spice in it.
Okay.
And it was the most delicious thing I've ever tasted in my entire life. And I have been going back to them. My sister and I go there at least once a month. And I've been trying to find anything that will compare. And like, they're still good. They still have really good other flavors. But that's been like the most amazing thing I've tasted.
A normal ice cream.
Bring back watermelon tahini, but also come sponsor our podcast.
Exactly.
Oh, if we're going to shout out local companies, I'm also going to shout out Raleigh's Red Barn in Santaquin because I also really love their dark chocolate habanero ice cream. That stuff is also amazing, but you can only get it for a certain amount of time at the end of the summer when they harvest the habanero peppers.
I always think of you as I drive down that way. I've yet to stop in Santaquin.
You have to, I can't drive past Santaquin without stopping at Raleigh's.
I think it's because I haven't stopped yet, so I'm like free from truly knowing what is out there.
Well, there's cheap produce. Like I always bring a cooler with me, stock up on produce for my family. Yeah. Sorry. This has now become the local Utah podcast where we're not even talking. We've just bored everybody who lives outside of the state.
Come visit Utah.
Speaking of which, we have a large number of listeners from New Jersey and Connecticut for some reason. So shout out to you if you're from Jersey or Connecticut listening to this. We appreciate the loyalty.
Nice.
I don't know anybody who lives in New Jersey or Connecticut. Do you?
A couple in New Jersey that I don't know if they'd be listening, more New Yorkers and Maryland and DC, so.
Hey, we see you. We love you. All right, let's get into the actual episode. This is season 1, episode 20, titled Meeting Dad's Girlfriend. Our TV guide description, which is actually our Hulu description, is love definitely isn't in the air when Sabrina meets her dad's new girlfriend. And when I went to go see what the TV guide description was, it has changed vastly since the last time we recorded. And now they are very long paragraphs instead of the short 2-sentence things. Like it's long and it like gets into the plot a lot. But then later seasons, they're still the same 2-sentence thing. So I don't know what's happened in the past couple of months to the TV guide website, but it's not the same. We're done with the TV guide option until they go back to normal.
I was going to say, do we need to quickly archive all the rest of the seasons before the data changes?
I mean, I don't think that's something the government is involved. I don't think TV Guide is a government organization.
You never know at this point.
You never know. You never know. If you have the original TV Guide description, let us know. The air date was April 4th, 1997, so we are officially off track. We were releasing ours on the same date that they were released originally, and we're just fully off of that now. It was directed by David Grossman, who's back from last episode for Cat Showdown. Our writers, Sky, you're going to have to help me if you understand this. So the teleplay is by Nell Scoville, but then we have a story by Nell Scoville and Sheldon Bull. What does that mean? Do you know?
Teleplay is a script for a television show or movie which includes the dialogue and camera instructions. So Nell and Sheldon wrote like the basic story of here's what's going to happen. And then Nell went and did the actual nitty-gritty stuff.
Why do we need to credit that separately?
Because it's different work and we want to give people kudos for the work they do.
Show folk. So the story is by Nell Scoville and Sheldon Bull. Sheldon Bull has a bunch of other writing credits for things like Coach, Mom, and Call Me Cat, so still writing. Our guest stars are Robbie Benson is back as Edward Ted Spellman. This is his last appearance as Edward. This is not the last appearance of Edward. We do have a switcheroo of parents that happens so often on these teen shows, but Robbie Benson won't be back. And I was very distracted by Robbie Benson as I was watching this because I'm not a goatee person. I don't think goatees are attractive, but his particular goatee and his hair, the way his hair was styled, looked exactly like Ryder Strong in the later episodes of Boy Meets World, and his like coloring looks very similar. So in this episode, he looked like an older version of Ryder Strong from when I was very much in love with Ryder Strong. So I was like, hey, this is adult now, age appropriate Ryder Strong for me. And I really enjoyed this episode because of that.
He also doesn't look like a dweeb like he did in the pilot episode with that top hat.
Yeah.
Like, this is who I can see. Oh, he did voice Beast in Beauty and the Beast. Like,
Yeah.
I get it now. Versus that dude in the first episode, like, nah.
Also, Jill and I may have seen Ryder Strong at Pioneer Theater Company right at the beginning of Sundance because there was a guy who looked very much like Ryder Strong. But I was like, no, it can't be. But I was like, he was here for Sundance. So Ryder Strong, if you went to go see Dial M for Murder, I was also there.
I did not hear this story from Jill about Pioneer, nor did I hear that he was at Sundance. So I'm on top of things.
I texted Jill that he was at Sundance and told her to go find him.
Oh, well.
I don't think she did.
I'm out of the loop. I don't know what he looks like, but I possibly could have spotted him on Main Street.
We now talk directly. We don't need to talk through you anymore. We also have Charlene Furnett as Gail Kipling. She was the Aunt Zelda in the Sabrina TV movie, which aired before the Sabrina TV show that we're going to watch later on. That was interesting. She didn't have a ton of other acting credits, like A Diagnosis Murder and The Outer Limits and a few other little things. Then we have Patrick Thomas O'Brien as Index Man. He was in a bunch of stuff. He was most recently in the Saved by the Bell reboot. He was also in Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Gilmore Girls, ER, Catch Me If You Can, Family Matters, and Step by Step. So some other TGIF things. What were your overall thoughts of the episode, Sky?
I know last episode we had talked about how quick and short the scenes were, and we had thought it was maybe attributed to the writer. But now that seeing that it's David Grossman back as director again, I think it's a combo there of David just really likes, the getting to the next thing in the story and not like dawdling there. So it was interesting to see that sort of continue from the last episode there. It was a fine episode. It wasn't my favorite, but there were some fun little moments there. Wasn't the third episode, which shall not be named.
This is one that always stands out in my memory when I think back to the first season of Sabrina. There were a few things I didn't really remember. I also feel like Salem wasn't given much of anything to do, really underutilized in this episode, but they also had Ted. But I also feel like Ted and Salem could be really fun together if they would lean into it a little bit more. Our cold open starts with Sabrina struggling to open a jar of spaghetti sauce. Aunt Hilda comes in to help her, but also struggles. And Zelda tries as well, showing her a little trick, but she also can't do it. Finally, they resort to magic. The jar just spins and spins around, and the lid still does not come off. Zelda admits magic is great, but sometimes you need a man around the house. And I'm like, what the hell, Zelda?
Right.
Zelda in this episode is not it for me. I feel like Zelda and Hilda kind of switched roles. Zelda is always very much like the strong female, you can do anything girl kind of thing. Yeah, Zelda's not great in this episode. My other thought was, if you remember the Sabrina Through the Looking Glass episode where we find out that magic doesn't work on certain types of plastics, I was like, maybe the lid is made out of that plastic. And I was like, oh, maybe it's continuity. And then I'm like, maybe I'm giving the people too much credit.
I'd like to give them consistency. or the thought that they're thinking
Mhm.
of consistency. Oh, what was it? It wasn't like a PVC 4 or
It was
6
like
or
a
something like
plastic number
that.
7 or something like that. I don't remember. Again, it was like 3 episodes for all of you. It was 3 months for us.
Years at this point.
So then we get into our outfit intro. Sabrina is in a scientist outfit, complete with a very short skirt that you would not actually be allowed to wear in a lab, with a lab coat and glasses. And she says, "Free electrons while they last." And I fully like gaslit myself when I was doing my notes because I put in "free electrons, they're electrifying." I thought for sure that's what she said. And then I went back and I was like, that is not what she said. She said "free electrons while they last."
I mean, I like yours better, not gonna lie.
I was like, did that just change between now and when I rewound it like 5 seconds ago? It did not. I just fully made that up in my head. Sabrina's getting ready for school while talking to her dad in the magic book. He's asking her what she wants to do this weekend. She says maybe they can go to the ice show with Harvey. Her dad is excited to meet his daughter's first serious boyfriend.
And we get Cauldron Watch. There are scissors, the fuzzy pen, and then I have no clue what it is. There's a purple something, too big to be the stapler, upside down again, might be a hairbrush. I have to start watching this on my laptop. I cannot continue to try and hit pause on the TV remote to get the proper second still because I spend way too much time, embarrassing amount of time. I'm trying to click back, pause, too far.
I had my own few moments like that in this episode. So mine was the stairs. I'm going to talk a lot about the staircases in this episode, but also the Chinese scene. I spent way too much time on that scene. Sabrina chats with Zelda and Hilda in the kitchen to see if they want to come to the ice show, but they're not interested. When they find out that Ted is meeting Harvey, however, they're suddenly interested in coming. Sabrina tells them it's too late, though. They already said no. Harvey is nervous about meeting Sabrina's dad, but she reassures him that it will be fine. However, they quickly discover that they have nothing in common except for Sabrina, because Sabrina's dad doesn't know anything about sports cars or military aircraft.
Shocking.
Or spider monkeys. That's Harvey's other interest. Or mailboxes. They could talk about mailboxes. We haven't talked about mailboxes for a minute.
You know, I bet Ted will be able to carry on a conversation about a good mailbox.
Probably. He lives in a book. Weird containers, sure. Sabrina returns from school and there's a weird Salem scene, which didn't have anything to do with anything. So I didn't even write the notes, but you have a comment.
Yeah, so Sabrina had mentioned that, her dad is coming and whatnot. And Salem said, "Oh, has it been a month already?" And so can Ted only come out of the book once a month? Also, this is the first time we've heard of Sabrina having an interaction with Ted, even though apparently it's been happening frequently. Also, she's having phone calls with her mother frequently.
I know.
This is episode 20. What the crap?
I don't know if it's that he can only come out once or if it's just like that's the timing. Like he's free once a month. I don't know what his
He's
job
in a book.
is.
What is he doing?
I don't know. I don't know what his other realm job is. Like we already know Darrell's fine with disintegrating people or turning them into bugs. Maybe Darrell is really stingy with the weekends and sick days.
Is Ted like the court jester magician? Because he had that stupid top hat the first episode, and then his page in the book this time, he's by rabbits and like very traditional magician outfit in the book there. So maybe he's just a lowly magician.
Yeah, the first episode, he says he works for the Foreign Service. That's just a lot more foreign than you think. And then Sabrina references maybe he's a teacher later. Maybe he teaches magic. I don't.
We want to give them credit for being consistent about the plastic thing, but then there's stuff like this. And so
I don't know. Yeah, no. Okay. We're moving on. I'll have more thoughts about this later. we can readdress.
But you do have thoughts about Salem on that porch.
Yes, I do have thoughts about the porch. Thank you. I almost skipped over that. Thank you for reminding me about the porch. So we still have cutout sides with a screen only on the door. So this porch still doesn't make sense. Also, I forgot to check later on in the dining room scene if the window to the dining room still looks out on the porch like it did in Jenny's non-dream. Because I swear that window was actually a mirror at one point, but I don't know. So Sabrina returns from school to find Hilda still trying to open the jar of spaghetti sauce with magic, and it still does not work. Zelda says Ted can open the jar when he comes. Hilda and Zelda then start arguing about whether that's a sexist remark or just facts. And it's absolutely sexist because I am a single woman living by myself and I open my own jars all the time. Again, not in love with Zelda this episode. Just then, Ted appears using a very deep and loud voice to yell at them. He gives Sabrina a gift, a magic camera that takes photos instantly. Sabrina tests it out by taking a photo of her aunts and dad, blinding them all with the flash.
So don't cameras normally take photos instantly?
I think it like produces it instantly.
Oh, so it's a Polaroid.
Yeah, that's what they said. Sabrina's like, oh, it's a Polaroid. And Ted's like, yeah, we had the technology first.
I missed that part. So yeah. I'm discovering this with Sabrina actively right now.
Ted is now trying to open this jar of spaghetti sauce and finally succeeds after trying for 2 hours. I'm sorry, I've had some really tough to open jars. None of them have taken me more than maybe 5 minutes to figure out my way around. At that point, just break the jar open.
Magic a new jar. Go to the store.
Just magic the pasta without the jar. Like, at this point, you could have made the spaghetti sauce from scratch. Anyway, they open it just in time for dinner. However, Hilda no longer wants Italian food because she's mad at it. So instead, they zap in Chinese food, complete with outfits and decorations. And now they're all speaking Mandarin. And then there's a joke about Hilda not understanding what they're saying. So I was wondering if there was like a Cantonese Mandarin joke that we were missing where she's speaking Cantonese and the rest are speaking Mandarin. So I spent way too long with my Google Translate next to my speaker trying to get it to understand, and it wouldn't even pick up what they were saying. So I don't know if their accents and pronunciation was so bad that Google Translate couldn't even pick it up, or if Google Translate is bad with picking up Chinese Mandarin.
How do you feel about that scene?
I mean, it was pretty stereotypical Chinese.
This is like the third time or something. It's a weird. We're focusing on this stereotype in the writing room. Asian stereotypes. Just a little, just want to call that out there.
Ted asks if anyone wants to get ice cream. They all do, and Sabrina goes to ask Salem if he wants to come as well. And this time, I'm assuming she takes the stairs from the front entryway because she does not come up the usual, like the main staircase, but instead she emerges from the hallway behind the staircase, confirming that there are 2 staircases in this house, even though sometimes there are not. In this episode, there are 2 separate staircases. What are you flicking at?
Drawers on the table, purposely pushing shit off.
I want you to leave this part of the podcast in. This guy trying to smack River Song to get off the table.
Well, she's on the opposite side of the table too, so I was just trying to make a hand gesture that would make her realize, oh, I shouldn't be doing this.
Does River Song understand hand gestures?
Yes. She's a smart cat. She actually was pushing papers off the table yesterday consistently, and she knows it drives me crazy. And then I finally kicked in that it's because of the new cat, Meadow. I was sitting next to her, and the instant I moved away from Meadow, suddenly River didn't have to push papers off the table anymore. So
she's acting out. Unfortunately, she's still speaking Mandarin and needs to zap herself so that Salem can understand her. And Salem yells, "Speak English!" Like, okay, that was uncomfortable. But also, that's a Salem thing to do.
This is another instance where they could have shown us what Salem is reading, but they choose not to. He's read that book or similar books on that hamper at least 3 times. They won't throw us a bone.
Also, it looked really thin. It looked more like a pamphlet or like a handbook. Like, it was really thin. It didn't look like a book.
Yeah, it sort of almost looked like some of the older classical paperbacks I have, like from my grandma's house, the smaller ones. Who knows? They won't tell us, so we don't know.
Sabrina's about to leave when she hears a knocking noise coming from her room. She finds the knocking coming from her magic book and opens it up to find a woman speaking to her. She finds out the woman is named Gail, and she claims to be a friend of Sabrina's father. Sabrina takes the book down to her dad, and the way she carries the book is open and like pressed against her. Sabrina just kissed her dad in the book a couple scenes ago, and now she's carrying this woman in a book pressed up against her body. Is that awkward for Gail in the book? Like, I don't understand how this book works with the people in it. But anyway, Sabrina takes the book down to her dad, and he excitedly grabs it when he finds out that it's Gail wanting to speak to him. Gail refers to him as her sweetheart. It is also apparent that Gail is a lawyer who is supposed to be in court today, but Drell disintegrated the judge. Gail wants to tag along to hang out with them. When Ted asks the family, he admits that Gail is his girlfriend of about 10 months. We also find out that Ted and Sabrina's mom have been divorced for 6 years since she was 10 years old. And I need to pause right here. Her parents have been divorced for 6 years. Did she live with her mom in the mortal realm up until right before her 16th birthday, at which time her mom knew her magic powers were coming in? So she turned Sabrina over to Zelda and Hilda right before Sabrina's 16th birthday, and then she went down to Peru. Did they share custody and Ted lived in the mortal realm and they somehow hid the magic of it all from her for 6 years? What? How? Why?
Not even 6 years. Like, they're together for 10 years.
Yeah.
Sabrina was with both of them for 10 years. They're together for
Yeah.
12 years total. Surely in 10 years of growing up, there had to be some witness of magic at some point as well.
I'm assuming they lived in the mortal realm because Sabrina's mom would have to live in the mortal realm.
Yeah.
And maybe Ted, again, going back to the very first episode, we know that there's a safety trigger on your finger. So maybe Ted just like turned off the magic when he was at home and was real vague, because you can be vague about what you do for a job to up to a 10-year-old. They don't ask questions. They don't care. I want more information on this timeline and how this all worked out. Maybe Sabrina's mom had primary custody. Maybe Ted was doing the monthly visits even then, and he's just kept up with it since. Zelda and Hilda are excited to meet Gail. Sabrina is less enthusiastic, but Ted excitedly brings her out of the book. Everyone is out getting ice cream with Ted, Sabrina, and Gail sitting on one side of the booth. Hilda takes a picture of the three of them with the magic camera, again blinding all of them with the flash. Hilda hands over the photo of the three of them, where a less than thrilled looking Sabrina sits next to them, but Ted's smile pings. Zelda asks Gail how she and Ted met, and Gail starts to give us a story where we find out which blood comes in E negative. So all of the things we think we know about genetics may be completely wrong for witches.
Yeah, that was a bummer to hear.
I think all the inheritance that we think and how traits are inherited, I don't think any of it plays out the way we expect it to.
I was so excited for some Punnett squares.
They got like 29 blood types, probably. What's your blood type?
O negative. So I am also a rare person, just like Gail.
I'm an A negative.
My blood type's basically the giving tree. You can give. Is anyone gonna give back to me? Probably not. Universal donor, not universal receiver. Womp womp womp.
In the middle of Gail's story, Sabrina blurts out that she got an A on her history test. Gail finishes telling her story with a bad blood type pun, and Zelda and Hilda just kind of stare at her.
I enjoyed that pun.
I figured you would. Ice cream is served, and Sabrina awkwardly brings her mother into the conversation by talking about the layers of sundaes. It was so bad. Ted tries to share their sundae with Gail, but Sabrina vehemently objects, and then Sabrina compromises by offering Gail the cherry that she does not like. They get home and decide to play a round of charades, but Sabrina says she has homework to do, even though it's Friday night. She goes upstairs, and the adults all talk about how Sabrina is clearly unhappy with the situation. Ted decides to go have a talk with Sabrina about it.
No one wants to be on Hilda's team. I think this game, if they were going to write into Hilda's character anything she'd be superb at, it would be charades.
Really? If you think it's the name of a book, are you going to trust Hilda to pick that one up?
Let me live my life, Laura.
I need you to also leave in that silence. Sabrina drops off Salem's ice cream to him, but does not open the bag, so he cannot get into it. And then Ted comes upstairs again from the hallway behind the main staircase, and Salem asks him to open the bag for him as well, but Ted doesn't listen, and so Salem sobs pathetically.
So this is the cat who we have seen read the newspaper for the stocks, answer the telephone, do all these various things, and he cannot figure out how to open this bag, which only has like 2 folds on the top, preventing him from his ice cream. Come on, Salem.
Mabel knows how to chew through her food bag. And that was a thin bag. Mabel's food bag is thick.
River Song knows how to turn on a light switch. Like, come on, Salem, open that bag.
Ted tries to talk to Sabrina about her problem with Gail. She denies it at first, but then bans Gail from coming with them to the ice show. Sabrina asked him to think about her mother before he moves on, because she'll be getting her PhD soon, and maybe they can get teaching jobs together at a small college near a big city. Ted asks Sabrina to come downstairs and give Gail a chance. She decides to be the bigger person, and then Ted says since she's such a big person, she can be on Hilda's team for charades. Sabrina whines. Sabrina and Ted walk out of her room together to find Salem mauling the bag of ice cream. So he did get into it eventually. Hilda, Zelda, and Gail are looking through a photo album that includes pictures of Ted in a powdered wig and one in a kilt. Ted yells at them in his deep magic voice. Ted says they should all sit and chat, and Sabrina starts by asking Gail about herself. Gail says she's a lawyer, has been dating Sabrina's dad for about a year now, and at the same time that she says yes, she thinks they'll get married, Ted says no. Immediately, they start to discuss this, realizing that they are on different pages.
Which is funny because they came out of a book and probably are on different pages. Literally.
I saw what I wrote or what I said, and I was like, I'm leaving that in there for Sky.
Yes, thank you.
I did not change it for you.
I appreciated it.
Gail thought they were heading towards marriage, but Ted says he's done marriage before. Gail is upset and goes back into the book. Ted tries to go after her, but he immediately gets kicked right back out of the book. Sabrina smiles and closes the book and asks who's up for charades. And I feel for Gail. Like, both these people are clearly like late 30s. We'll say that. There are a ridiculous number of men on dating apps who under what are your relationship priorities or goals or what are you looking for? The number of men who are 40 or older who are like, I'm still figuring out what I want in a relationship. I'm like, boy, you're halfway through your life. The time to figure it out is now. No more of that. Either you're in or you're out. That's fine. If it's short-term relationships forever, put that on there. If you're looking for marriage, figure that out. There's no more of this, I don't know, I'm still trying to figure it out. No, you're too old for that. Stop it. That bingo is not getting marked off my bingo card this year.
It's only February.
I'm doing good on my other bingo goals, but the dating one has not been checked off. Sabrina comes downstairs in the morning to find that Ted was up late last night, opening up every jar in the house to be helpful. Ted shows up in the kitchen, still dressed in his pajamas, and Sabrina tells him he has to change for the ice show. Harvey arrives at the door and is dressed completely in the opposite way, in a very nice suit with his hair slicked back. Ted comes out and Sabrina introduces him and Harvey to each other. She excuses herself to go grab her camera and tells them to chat. They just awkwardly stand in silence, staring at each other. Sabrina returns, much to the relief of the men, and on their way out the door, she asks if they can stop by the arcade if they have time. We get a montage of Harvey, Sabrina, and Ted playing arcade games where Harvey and Sabrina are happy and playful, while Ted is getting increasingly angry and violent.
Can we go to the arcade soon?
We can go to the arcade.
Awesome.
Are you talking Quarters or Dave & Buster's? Or Nickelcade?
Any just made me want to go to an arcade.
You want to go live it up with the junior high kids at Nickelcade?
Oh, I'd crush them. Sounds like we're going to have our own montage at the arcade soon.
We should film a montage at the arcade.
Anytime I lose, I'll be Angry Ted.
I like skee ball. I'm a skee ball person.
Air hockey. Get that puck flying. Get some bloody knuckles.
Sabrina is playing with her flashlight while she and Harvey sit in their seats. Harvey remarks that he thinks Katerina Witt is very pretty, and Sabrina zaps her, causing her to have some sort of horrific accident on the ice based off of everybody's reactions. Do you know who Katerina Witt is?
Not at all.
Okay. She is a former German figure skater. She won gold at the 1984 Olympics in Sarajevo, where she was representing East Germany. And then in 1988 in Calgary, she won gold again. I did find this fun. Maybe not fun. I found this fact about her that was interesting. So when East German records were declassified, they found about 3,500 pages on her, starting from when she was 7, about all the things they did to keep her from defecting to West Germany.
Ooh, I want to read those.
And it was like they gave her cars and money and all the ways they wanted to keep her in East Germany. That was interesting. Even Harvey can tell that something is off with Sabrina's dad, but she still doesn't believe it. Ted returns with cups of carrot juice and little boxes of raisins. What do you get when you go to a stadium or arena, Sky? What's your go-to snack?
We just found out that the soccer stadium has Dole Whip.
Ooh.
That brings me joy. Or I'll do like an energy drink because that's sort of all I live on now. Coffee or energy drinks. Technically, water exists in both of them.
Not like a pretzel, churro. I always get nachos.
Stadium food's just so expensive.
Well, yeah, you're paying for the experience of paying a lot at the stadium.
Well, I might be coming old and curmudgeonly because I'm like,
I will pay $8 for some nachos. Sabrina leaves to go get something she'll actually eat, leaving the men alone again. Ted asks if he can talk to Harvey man to man. Harvey is just so uncomfortable throughout this. I love Harvey. Zelda's a disappointment. Harvey is amazing in this episode. Ted asks Harvey if you should marry a woman that you love. Harvey thinks this is about him and Sabrina and eventually blurts out that he's only 16.
The panic in his eyes.
Oh man, I love Harvey. Zelda pulls a chutney olive peanut butter casserole out of the oven with beets on top. Would you eat that?
No.
No.
I don't think so. Unless, like, I was starving or on so much cold medicine that anything tasted good.
I don't even know if I'd eat if I was starving. I don't know.
You know, while clearly this magic struggles to open jars, surely there is magic that can reseal these jars versus having to consume everything immediately.
Even if you can't magically seal them, you can just put the lid back on and screw it.
Yeah. Put it back in the fridge. Yes, you're gonna have to eat things
like soonish,
faster,
but not today.
Or, you know, conjure fresh sealed jars.
Yeah.
Instead, I think there are better solutions than this whole creative slew of meals we're about to continue seeing.
Yeah, the B storyline was not great. Zelda and Hilda hear Ted and Sabrina return from the ice show and greet them at the door with sauerkraut dandies. Ted goes to play solitaire alone, while Sabrina asks her aunts if they can talk. Sabrina's worried that her dad didn't have a good time at the ice show. He threw his novelty Scott Hamilton mug at Scott Hamilton. Do you know how Scott Hamilton is, Sky?
No, I don't.
He is an American figure skater. He's actually my favorite male figure skater back when I was younger. Chris Yamaguchi is my favorite female. Scott Hamilton was my favorite male. He won gold medal at 1984, also at the Sarajevo Olympics, and he has a signature backflip move, which is actually kind of like banned in Olympics at least, but he still does it when he just does like his normal for funsies shows.
Yeah, I know nothing about skating.
Sabrina thinks her dad might be depressed and pulls out the picture where her dad's smile no longer pings. Sabrina zaps a satellite in an effort to cheer him up, but the aunts say that he probably misses Gail. Sabrina jumps into the book herself to try and talk to Gail, and she did not open the book to jump into it, whereas Gail opened it and her dad had it open to jump into it. We can't even be consistent in the same episode. Sabrina arrives at the index of the book. She rings a bell and the index keeper appears to help her find the person she's looking for. Sabrina gives the index keeper all the information she knows about Gail and finally narrows it down to 2 Gails. Since Sabrina's Gail is not scaly, she's going to go with Gail Kipling. Sabrina gets into the pneumatic tube and is sent to the page where Gail is. Sabrina finds Gail at her desk where she is looking into the profit potential of Drell suing himself. Sabrina tries to convince Gail to come back and see her father, but Gail claims she's too busy and can't do anything while she has all those papers on her desk. Sabrina decides to help by magically blowing the papers off, and so Gail gives her 5 minutes, and they talk some more about Ted and how good of a person he is. Gail is aware of that, but he still said no when asked if he thought they would get married. Sabrina asks Gail to give her dad more time because the divorce was really hard on both of her parents. It has been 6 years. They've been dating almost a year. He needs more time. Again, these older adult men, get it together. If you're not going to get married, that's fine. Just be upfront with that and let the person know. Sabrina realizes that she also has to move on, as well as her father. Sabrina tells Gail the question isn't whether or not they'll get married, but whether or not she loves Sabrina's dad. Gail says she does, and they come back to Sabrina's house together, and I hate that advice. Why would you take advice about marriage from a 16-year-old, number one, who has just barely gotten into a relationship, maybe? But also, again, if being married is important to you and the person you're with does not want to get married, it is okay to have those different life tracks, but don't just stay together hoping that they'll change their mind.
Valid. Yes, Sabrina, you need to move on, but also probably knowing that your dad has been dating for a year could be helpful when suddenly these two are talking about differences in marriage and you just met this person.
That is also fair. That is also a good point. Come on, Ted. I get not wanting to introduce people to your kids too soon, but 10 months when Gail thinks they're on marriage track is probably too long.
Can we talk about this magic book quickly since we're about to be done with it?
Yeah.
So is this just like another portal to the other realm, like the linen closet? Because obviously Drill has some form of existence there. It's a full world, it seems like, with different areas.
I think it's another dimension.
The other realm?
Yeah, like I don't think it necessarily exists in the other realm. I don't think it is the other realm, but I think you can go into the book, and the book is maybe a third spot. Maybe we'll get more answers. Probably not.
Make it all make sense.
Also, there's way too many ways to get into the other realm that are just really easy for mortals to wander on into, but okay. Ted is angrily playing solitaire when Sabrina and Gail show up. Sabrina leaves them alone to talk. Ted and Gail hug, and Ted's smile pings again. Hilda and Zelda are in the kitchen where they have gotten down to the last 3 jars of opened food and are splitting them between them.
Zelda takes the marmalade. Hilda takes the marshmallow fluff, which I do think is fitting for their characters there, and then they split capers on top of it, which apparently Zelda says hits the spot. Which of all of these creations we've heard would you eat? You have to eat one. You can't pass.
I'm trying to remember what a caper tastes like. I know I've had one that's been a very long time.
Like a salty little green olive almost.
I was going to ask you about your, if you have a weird food combination you like. I would probably be okay if I absolutely had to, like if I was going to get paid $1 million, I would eat probably the marmalade and capers. What about you?
I think I'd choose the marshmallow fluff and capers just because it's a more neutral palate.
Mm-hmm.
So the sweet will still counteract the salty of the caper, but without adding orange into it as well. Definitely not sauerkraut dandies.
No.
Definitely not whatever that peanut butter casserole was.
Do you have any weird food combinations that you like?
It's not necessarily weird food. I mean, people look at me weird. I grew up watching my grandpa put all like his cakes, cookies, all that in like a glass of milk. He'd throw like some raspberry jam in there as well. Sometimes like some sunflower seeds and just eat
in a glass of milk?
In this just giant cup there.
Okay.
And it's really great. Like,
okay.
I don't do the sunflower seeds. My cousin does. We met for a family Christmas gathering and all our cousins were looking at us weird while we were like, you know what this tres leches needs? A glass of milk that we put the tres leches in. And then we got some raspberry jam. I would do almond probably on top instead of sunflower seeds. But people always look at me weird. I grew up watching it and, he's pretty smart doing that.
I'm going to officially deem that at least unusual.
Okay. What about you?
I don't eat it together, but I've noticed it's a Jenny's ice cream and it's like candy bar. So it's a peanut butter ice cream that has pretzel and chocolate pieces in it. It's really good. So I was eating a little bit of that the other night and then I was like, you know what I really want is a cheese stick right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I had a cheddar jack cheese stick right after. And I was like, that hit the spot very nicely.
Food. That's weird.
Do you have weird food combinations you like?
Let us know. Maybe I'll go in our cookbook.
Keep them to yourself. We don't want to hear them.
Well, I was interested.
I was trying to be unexpected.
That certainly was for me.
No, we're happy to hear your weird food conversations or combinations.
Let's have a conversation about your weird food combinations.
Sabrina tells her aunts that Gail is back and they are happy for Ted. Sabrina is glad that her dad is happy, but then worries about her mom. Her aunts say that she should talk to her mom, but Sabrina just called her yesterday. She wishes she could actually see her. The aunts then show her the Sneak-a-Peek, which is a very powerful magnifier that allows you to see anyone on the planet. Sabrina runs off to look at her mom in the magic book, which it feels a little mean that she's been with them now for like 8 months. 6 months, and they haven't shown this to her yet. They're just like, sorry, you can't lay eyes on your mom. Like, that feels a little mean. They should have showed that to her, like, right away.
Good thing it's not like a two-way mirror. So her mom definitely looks up. Could be a ball of wax.
Ball wax. Sabrina is able to see her mom at her archaeological dig in Peru. Sabrina is glad to see that her mom appears to be happy with her work and that her colleague is really cute. Don't date people at work. Don't do it. You're going to be like, oh, no, don't do it.
It gets messy.
Don't do it. Everyone has moved on except for Salem, who is watching an exciting shaft of light on the ceiling. Sabrina tells him to enjoy it and that he deserves it. She then smiles and her smile pings. In the end tag, the aunts Sabrina, Ted, and Gail are all playing charades. Sabrina is annoyed that she is on Aunt Hilda's team. It's Sabrina's turn to go and she tries to act out the title of a play. Hilda is terrible and not guessing correctly. So Sabrina finally zaps in a small tin roof with a Salem on it, saying ouch because it's hot. Hilda finally guesses cat on a hot tin roof. And part of the reason why I think Hilda's bad at charades is because Sabrina's also bad at charades. If your play is cat on a hot tin roof, you don't start with the first word sounds like hat. You just mime a cat. You don't do hat to cat. You just do cat. Cat is an easy word to mime.
Yeah. Cat, hot, and roof should all be very easy.
So easy. You could even throw in an on in there and you could get that. Like this, Sabrina's also bad at charades. It's not just Hilda.
Give Hilda a little slack, people.
Although Hilda's guesses were really bad, but still. Our next episode is season 1, episode 21, As Westbridge Turns. Sky, what do you think it's going to be about?
Is the town they live in called Westbridge?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Could mean anything. It's so vague.
What do you think that sounds like as Westbridge turns?
As the world turns,
Mm.
these are the days of our lives. It's gonna be the town going all funky because of some magic and things turning awry, much like our world today.
I feel like you're copping out with these very non-specific answers.
It's a non-specific title. What am I supposed to do? I'm creative genius every single time.
I expect it. It's great to be back, even though you didn't know we were gone.
Surprise.
Like, share, rate, subscribe this podcast. You can email us at somethingwhatshepod@gmail.com. And we've gotten a few emails. Like, we've gotten people actually like writing in and telling us when we're wrong about stuff, which I have appreciated. It's also because like I was like, yeah, we figured it out like 5 months later, but because we recorded it so far in advance, we didn't know at the time. But now you can email us and we'll probably get it roughly around the right time. You can follow us on Instagram at somethingwitchypod and TikTok. That still exists for now.
Am I bad at updating it? Sure am, but come
That's
follow
fine.
me.
I've been really bad at the Instagram lately. My brain has not been creative lately. Our TikTok is something.witchy.pod. Until next time.
Stay meowgical.